Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you today for joining His Holiness Chandramauli Maharaj's daily online Zoom class. And today we will be continuing with the discussions and reading of Bhumi Gita, Canto 12, Chapter 3, verse 48 onwards. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vidyatapa Prana Nirodha Maitri. Vriddabhisheka Vratadhana Japyai. Natyanta Sudam Labhiten. Naviten Charatma Yatharidiste Bhagavat Yanante. By engaging in the process of demigod worship, austerities, breath control, compassion, bathing in the holy places, strict vows, charity, and chanting of various mantras, one's mind cannot attain the same absolute purification as that achieved when the ultimate personality of Godhead appears within one's heart. So in that verse, it says that all activities, no matter how glorious they may and how much they're emphasized in the Shastras, fall short of the achievement that one attains when the Lord actually awakens within one's heart. So we understand from that verse that the desire to awaken the Lord within the heart should be the goal of all activities. Text 49. Tasmat sarvatmanam rajam gurustam gurukeshavam Viryamano yavad Tiktas Vitoyasi Paramditim. Therefore, King, endeavor with all your might to fix the Supreme Lord Keshava within your heart. Maintain this concentration upon the Lord. At the time of death, you will certainly attain the supreme destination. Purport. Although the Supreme Lord is always in the heart of every living being, the word Hridayastam Kudukeshavam indicate that one should endeavor to realize the Lord's presence there and maintain this awareness at every moment. Parikshit Maharaj is about to give up this world and is receiving final instructions from his spiritual master, Candramauli Swami. In the context of the king's imminent departure, this verse has special significance. Om Gyan Tivedandasya Gyanantina Salakaya Chaksudin Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Mayam Dadati Swam Padanti Tam Mande Ham Shiguro Siyuta Padakamalam Shiguru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sahagajanatam Sahagana Raganatam Vikamtam Sajuvam Tadvaitam Sarvadutam Parijanam Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vikamscha Om Vishnu Vadaya Krishna Dastaya Bhutale Shimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pachari Nidamsi Sasunyavadi Pastyat Yade Satari. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Panchakalpa Tarubhischa, Viva Sindhuve Vacha, Itanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha. So, and it says that in the scriptures, I am seated in the heart of all living entities, and from me comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. So those two statements are relevant in relationship to each other. That based on the desire of the living entity, then one gets knowledge, one gets remembrance, and one also gets forgetfulness. So the Lord facilitates that based on the desire, and he does that through his energies. If it's material, then he does it through the external energy, Maya. If it's spiritual, he does it through his Paraprakriti, or his spiritual energy, supreme energy. And that is coming through his spiritual energies. So in any case, everything is based on desire. But the Lord is situated in the heart. Otherwise, no one could perform any activity. Because the Lord sanctions the quality of the desire and gives it a particular category of reference. And based on that, particular activity unfolds, and then a particular result comes from that activity. So if we desire to remember Krishna, then Krishna will help us to remember him by giving us a chance to find ways to remember him. We'll see his picture. We'll remember him by seeing the external environment and understand that that external environment is simply his energy. That's more indirect, but that's also an example. And of course, we can remember him by going to the temple. We can remember him by chanting the holy name. So one should desire to always remember Krishna. This is as the scriptures say, that all of the rules and regulations in the scriptures are actually subordinate to two rules and regulations. As it's mentioned in the Nectar Devotion, there is a series of what is called vidhis. Vidhis means things that we should perform, such as hearing Bhagavatam every day, chanting the holy names, giving in charity, serving devotees, and things that we should avoid, such as illicit sex, intoxication, the regulative principles, or nishedas, things that we avoid. Avoid criticizing devotees, avoid overeating. In other words, things to avoid and things to do. So when we have a clear understanding, then Krishna will facilitate a particular desire according to that nature of that desire. So when we want to remember Krishna, and we develop a desire to remember Krishna, then that the desire is supported by Krishna himself. He gives us opportunities to remember him more and more. And then when we practice remembering him in different ways, then that concentration on the Lord becomes, what we say, intensified, or becomes more fixed and full. And then a devotee, as they make progress, they can remember Krishna always. And that's the goal. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakto, always remember me. And that's what it means to be Krishna conscious. So this verse says, and of all of rules and regulations, take subordination to two rules and regulations. This is from the Mahabharata. I can't remember the exact verse. If somebody can quote that verse, it's nice. can't remember the verse, but it says that like always remembering Krishna and never forgetting Krishna are the two regulation principles. So one who is remembering Krishna always and never forgetting Krishna simultaneously is performing all of the benefits of all of the other regulative principles, because that's the ultimate goal of the regulative principles, is to help you come to the platform of always remembering Krishna. And that's called Krishna consciousness. It's that simply explained, but therefore one should live in such a way that one performs activities that help one to remember Krishna always. Of course, we can remember Krishna through the external energy, just like Prabhupada gives the example of himself, how he was in World War II, he was in his home in Calcutta when the bombs were coming. He was thinking, this is Krishna coming in the form of a bomb. So a pure devotee can also see Krishna in certain adverse situations, because they know nothing can happen without Krishna. So to always remember Krishna, one can apply different principles that help one to remember Krishna. In other words, like seeing everything in relationship to Krishna helps. But direct remembrance of Krishna, such as his transcendental form, which can appear in the mind of a devotee, comes by meditating on that form. Just like when we go to the temple, we see the beautiful form of the deity, and then we take a mental snapshot of that deity form. And then throughout the day, we can refer back to that mindset that we have. And then we can continue to bring that consciousness awareness. We keep pictures on the walls of our home of Krishna and Radharani in their different colorful outfits, performing their pastimes, or some picture depicting some of Krishna's leelas. This is remembering Krishna. We have calendars that we put on the walls with the different months there, and then each month you'll see a particular form of the deity based on the calendar. One month, just like this month, you'll see most calendars have Gauratai there. Or this month you might have just Nityananda, and next month you might have Lord Chaitanya, like that. So these little artifacts and things that we can put in our home help us to remember Krishna. And that's the idea of remembering Krishna always. And that is as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, that is one of the more important principles of bhakti, to always remember him. So Sukadev Goswami is telling Maharaj Parikshit here that, prepare yourself, soon you'll be leaving the body. And then in that imminent departure, he is preparing himself by hearing more and more about Krishna and becoming less and less attached to the material world and to the material body. Okay, on to the next verse. Miryamanayar abhidyeyo bhagavam parameswaraham atmabhavam nayadyanga sarvatma sarvasamsrayah. My dear King, the personality of Godhead is the ultimate controller. He is the supreme soul of the supreme shelter of all beings. When meditated upon by those who are about to die, he reveals to them their own eternal spiritual identity. Oh, here's a very powerful translation. He is the ultimate controller. So there is two aspects to all activities that happen. There is the remote cause and there is the apparent cause. The apparent cause is what we see on this level. Somebody does something and they become the apparent cause of the activity. But the remote cause is that it's based on their desire, which is facilitated by the ultimate cause, which is Krishna, the Supreme Lord himself. So as he says, I am the source of all material and spiritual world. Everything comes from me. The wise who know this engage in my devotional service with all their heart. So Krishna, either directly or indirectly through his energies, is behind all activities, both in the spiritual and material worlds. Although he may not be apparently visible or even apparently connected, he is through his various energies and by his own desire. If Krishna desires something, it happens automatically, whatever it is. Here it says, when meditated upon and when Krishna, he's the supreme soul, the shelter of all, when we meditate upon him and we're about to leave our body, then Krishna helps us by revealing what is our identity. We see many of our devotees in our Krishna conscious movement, when they were leaving the body, were speaking about things in the spiritual world prior to leaving. They were even one lady, she was from Scotland, there was a book written about her, and she was talking about how she's helping Mother Yasoda carry water for Krishna. She was actually seeing herself in her spiritual realm prior to leaving the body. So that happens for devotees who are very pure, that they can actually see themselves in their spiritual identity and even performing their spiritual activities in the spiritual world while they're still here. Because consciousness is the basis of existence. It's like we say Krishna conscious. When you're Krishna conscious, you're with Krishna. When you're Maya conscious, you are with the external energy. You may be in the same place. Two people may be in the same place, but two people will be in two different worlds depending on their consciousness. So therefore, Maharaj Parikshit is formulating his consciousness where he's taking complete shelter of the knowledge that makes up the nature of the absolute truth and his relationship with that absolute truth. Therefore, he's meditating on himself in relationship to Krishna. And then now he's preparing himself, and you'll see later on in the 12th canto, as it explains, he reaches a stage of perfection. And then Sukadeva Goswami notes that and says, congratulations, you know it. Now, just absorb you. There's no need to hear from me anymore. You've heard everything. Now just focus your mind on Krishna, and soon you'll be back in its place again. So this is a very powerful verse. Okay, so we'll conclude here and open it up for questions.
Thank you, Maharaj. I think this was a very wonderful few verses because they're quite powerful and also encourages us, especially your point about how everything is driven by our desire, and the Lord in the heart grants the remembrance, appropriate remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness based on the desire. And I think the fundamental essence is to somehow or the other remember Krishna and make it favorable with our surroundings. So thank you very much, Maharaj, for this class. Dear devotees, I'm sure you have wonderful questions. Please feel free to share your comments, realizations, and questions related to today's verses. You can either unmute, raise your hand, or put it in the chat window, type it in, and I will read it out for you. Thank you.
So stop the share screen.
Yes, Maharaj.
And it's nice if devotees turn on their videos. I look forward to the day when when everybody has their video on. We haven't had that once yet.
Supriya Mataji, you have a question? Please go ahead.
Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to you, Maharaj. Maharaj, this is a question regarding seeing the Lord in our heart. When we are chanting to cleanse our heart, make it pure. But how long does it take for devotee to chant, say, 16 rounds per day? So by that count, how long it takes to purify our heart and realize the Lord?
Prabhupada used to say it can take 1 minute or it can take millions of years.
Depends on?
He answered that question of the how long. Krishna consciousness is your natural constitutional nature. To be Krishna consciousness is normal. To come back to your normal consciousness could take 1 second, or it can take millions of lifetimes. It's up to you. Generally, it's a gradual process, generally. But there are ways to accelerate the process, and there's ways to slow down the process. If you're chanting with offense, you're slowing down the process. So it's up to the individual. If you're still attached to material life and you're practicing Krishna consciousness, you can't expect to get purified. Even if you're chanting nicely, you have to give up your attachment to material life and give up the activities that are connected with that attachment. We can't play both worlds and expect to get the spiritual benefit. It's not possible. You emphasize the spiritual, and then the material gradually loses its effect, gradually. You emphasize the material, then the spiritual goes down. That's why we were talking, always remember Krishna. Even when you're doing ordinary activities, then you can still accelerate your Krishna consciousness. Even in ordinary activities, Krishna in your consciousness. But then again, you have to follow the rules and regulations in order to do that. To come to that stage of remembering Krishna always. Rules and regulations get you on the path. Remembering Krishna is the principle of bhakti. The rules and regulations are not bhakti, but they support bhakti. So how long depends on how purely you execute the process.
Maharaj, when devotees, I heard this, that we have to chant at least 3 crore, 3.5 crore times Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And if we calculate that, if we go by 64 rounds per day, then it takes at least minimum 14 years to reach that count. So in one video, I heard that we have to chant, suppose if we are chanting for say 16 rounds per day, then it will take 4 times 14. That means minimum 56 years. Okay, and that is the time required to just purify our heart. But God manifestation will happen, like seeing the Lord will happen only if you continue doing that even further for at least say 5 to 10 years.
What else are you doing? What else are you doing on the activities? Are you doing all the other activities to support your chanting? And if you're not, then your chanting won't have any effect. Be chanting with offense. Chanting with offense means very little benefit. It says if you chant once the holy name purely, you can free yourself from all the reactions of sinful activities that you committed even once. You have the story of Ajamil in the Bhagavatam. Ajamil chanted the name of Narayan, but he chanted without offense. Therefore, all of his sinful activities were gone in one chanting of the holy name of Narayan. But a person who is, I'm going to chant 64 rounds a day, and they're still engaged in material activities, and still committing offenses. The scriptures say you can chant for billions of years and they cannot get the benefit. What is this, numbers? Based on purity, it's not based on numbers. You think Prabhupada said, well, 16 rounds won't get you pure enough. You have to chant 64. He wanted us to chant more, but he gave us a minimum requirement so we would stay fixed in the chanting process. So you're hearing from people who are speculating, that's all. Prabhupada never said anything about 3 crores or this or that or this. He said, it's based on purity. And purity means following those principles that get you on the spiritual platform. No illicit sex, no intoxication, no meat eating, no gambling. Avoid the offenses that are mentioned. There's many kinds of offenses. There's 10 offenses to the holy name. There's 10 offenses to the Dham. There's offenses to the Vaishnavas. There's offenses to the deity. Avoid those. If you're not avoiding them, then your chanting won't go anywhere. You chant
Yes,
for a billion lifetimes.
It's like elephant's bath. Elephant goes and takes bath and then again comes out and throws the dust back. So it's something similar. If we are engaged.
It's actually a husky snan. So these people who come up with these numbers that you do this and you get this, they don't know what bhakti is. Bhakti doesn't work with it.
Mhm. Thank you, Maharaj.
Bhakti is a person. It's not a number achievement. The vows we take, the rules, regulations we follow, keep us on the spiritual platform. But the purification of heart comes by executing devotional service. Savai pum samparo dhammo, ito bhakti zahok sajaya hoitakiya priyata, yatma suprasidati. Well, devotional service has to be unmotivated and uninterrupted in order to completely satisfy yourself. Has to be free from karma and jnana, has to be in relationship to Krishna and with a desire to please Krishna. Then if you're performing all activities in that way, then your chanting will accelerate you quickly to the purified platform. So, Pesh,
Krishna Maharaj, could you tell me more about how to avoid making offenses? Because, knowingly or unknowingly, we're so kind of messed up in life that we're probably making offenses non-stop without even realizing.
well, there's 2 kinds of offenses, knowingly and unknowingly. But both of them can be minimized down to nothing if you develop the mood of service. In any situation you're in, try to think, how can I serve? Not what can I get in this situation. We enter into situations because we think we want to get something from that, some happiness, some satisfaction, something. But if we're in whatever situation we find ourselves in, think, how can I serve in this situation? And then it's very unlikely you'll commit offense. When we're in the enjoying mood, then the tendency to commit offenses becomes strong. So we have to develop that mood of service wherever we are and whoever we're with. Sometimes we find ourselves in a situation where we are being served, where sometimes we're served by friends or family members. But we accept that in order to take whatever they offer and then go back and then use that to serve. So we accept service in order to serve. But we don't accept service in order to gain something from that service. That'll happen automatically. We accept service because it's an opportunity to allow that person to serve us, which is beneficial for them. It's like the whole Indian culture is based on that. What can I do for you? The mood of service is very strong. In the Western culture, the mood is, what can you do for me? Quite opposite. So we have to learn that mood, that when I'm in whatever situation is, how can I serve? Even if I'm forced to accept service because of the circumstance. You know, I might have to get some money in order to do something to serve. So I'm accepting the money in order to facilitate some future service. So we always think, all right, I have to accept service, that's fine. But if you're accepting service in the mood of giving service, then that's the same thing. And that will remove the tendency to commit offenses. Offenses are due either to ignorance, not knowing what is an offense and what is not an offense. That's one way. Or to the false ego that wants to present itself as the enjoyer in all circumstances. These are the two ways we commit offenses. So learn what is offenses and what is not offenses. We're going to be having a seminar program in America. It's an annual disciples meeting. We're going to be talking a lot about this. It's part of the presentation. They're called anarthas, and then there's offenses that you can commit. Just like there's offenses to Guru, there's offenses to Krishna, there's offenses to the Dham, there's offenses to the holy name. All of these are offenses. So how to avoid these offenses? First, you should know what are the offenses. If you don't know what the offenses are, you might simply go on and do something not knowing it's an offense. And there is still a reaction, even though it's done in ignorance. Just like Prabhupada would always give the example. The judge is there, and the person has committed a crime, and they plead to the judge, my dear judge, I didn't know. You know, I'm used to driving on the left side of the road. I'm from India. I didn't know when I came to the West, I have to drive on the right side of the road. And when I come to America or some European country. So the judge will say, ignorance is no excuse. So you have to know. Child doesn't know that fire burns, but still the fire doesn't think, oh, the child doesn't know. Therefore, the child won't get burned. It'll get burned. So ignorance causes us to make mistakes. Ignorance causes us to commit offenses.
Thank you, Maharaj. That's wonderful.
Thank you, Prabhu. Maharaj, there's a comment. I'll read one comment and then there's a question in the chat window. So the comment is from Bhadra Soda Prabhu. Hare Krishna Maharaj, truly appreciate your reminder to have a desire to remember Krishna, and Krishna create the situation for us to remember him always and never forget.
Yeah, have that desire, Krishna will help you. Your desire moves either the spiritual energy when it's spiritual or the material energy when it's material. Your desire is moving a particular energy according to the nature of that desire. So if you want to remember Krishna always, he'll help you. If you want to forget him, he'll help you.
There's a question from Shingalila Mataji. I'll read it. Dear Guru Maharaj, I see how in my own life my desires were different from the desires I have now. I am concerned if I don't make it in this lifetime, what kind of lifetime I'm going to experience in my next life. I really don't want to be born again without devotee association. And there's always a possibility not to appreciate the given opportunity. How to philosophically understand that? Can you please share something that have soothing effect on all these fears? Thank you.
How to philosophically understand.
I think philosophically understand about that if you are born in the next life, Maharaj, without devotee association and not having the opportunity to appreciate that, and what would be the destination for not successfully?
Well, it says, Suchinam Simbatam Gehe, Yoga Brasta Pradayante. Anyone who engages in devotional service and falls short of the goal, then they pick up in their next life. By the arrangement of the Lord, they may take birth in a rich family, or they may take birth in a pious family, either one, which gives them the facility to perform easier devotional service. So Krishna will arrange for the devotee to pick up where they left in the next life. That's our situation, most of us. We've done some devotional service in the previous life. We came in contact with a book, with Prabhupada, and with Prabhupada's devotees, something. And now we're just picking up from where we left off. Some of us, we don't really know. But that's true in general. Because usually it takes a couple of lifetimes to reach perfection, generally. So Krishna will help by, he works through the material energy to arrange for that person to again come in contact with devotees. Just like sometimes people see our movement and they get immediately attracted. That attraction is an indication in many cases of their previous connection with spiritual life. We have one girl, she's in the UK. She was a brahmachari in the early days of our Krishna conscious movement. And that brahmachari died in the car crash. And fortunately, by the arrangement of Krishna, in this life, she came back again and she remembers, she has dreams about her previous existence, and all of those dreams were reaccounted in factual evidence from the description she gave. She remembers who she was, also a little bit about her previous leaving the body. All of these things are there. And she also wrote about it. So yeah, and now she's more fixed up, although she's a Mataji, she's more fixed up in her spiritual life than she was when she was a brahmachari. Because as a brahmachari, she was attached to an Indian Mataji. And so when she died, she took birth, this brahmachari died, he took birth as an Indian lady. The philosophy is there. But now she's not married and she does Sankirtana every day. She's on Harinam Sankirtan preaching. She preaches 7 days a week, every day. Yeah. So yeah, whatever you've done in this life will never be lost. But that's not an excuse or a consolation to take it easy in this life. You try to finish up in this life, Prabhupada would say. Don't risk coming back again. Because the risk of coming back is that whatever held you back in the last life, you'll have to face it again in this life. In other words, if you had a material attachment and you died with that material attachment and you came back and eventually became a devotee again, you still have to face that material attachment in the next life.
Thank you, Maharaj. Shingalila Mataji, I hope that answers your question. Maharaj, I have a question. You mentioned that Krishna gives us opportunity to remember him. And I was thinking that particularly when we are in distress, it's easy to remember Krishna. So the distressful, uncomfortable situations are there so that we can take shelter of Krishna more at that time. And your comment that he gives that opportunity, I was reflecting, yes, that's so true, Maharaj.
Yeah, I go through it every day. When you're preaching and traveling, there's a lot of stressful situations you face. If you don't remember Krishna, you can't stay. Yeah,
So Maharaj,
I give you a rundown of my yesterday's activities, it will simply confirm what I'm saying.
So Maharaj, one of the question is that, or it's very difficult to remember Krishna when things are going our way, when everything is okay, your health is good. It's very difficult to remember Krishna at that time in happiness. Distress automatically, yes, at some point will say, please, Krishna, help me. But in happiness, it's
what is that? What is
difficult,
that?
Maharaj.
In the Bhagavatam, in the prayers by Queen Kunti. Let those calamities come again and again. And that way we can see you again and again. And that way we won't have to see birth and death. She's praying for calamity. Why? Because she knows she's in a nice position. She's respectable lady, has 5 sons, the Pandavas, all good qualities. Krishna is her nephew. And she's saying to Krishna, give me some calamities, but I get enamored by all of this. And that way I forget you. So the point should be, and this is the mindset we should have, we should not look for calamities so we can remember Krishna. They'll come. They'll come. And then at that time, it becomes more easier. I don't say easy. You said easy. I don't agree with easy. I agree easier. It's easier to remember Krishna when things are somewhat upside down. When whatever is going, our health is not going good. Somebody says something that really causes us pains in our heart and mind. then it's easier to remember Krishna. But practice remembering Krishna, then becomes, then we can keep away all of these calamities, because when you're remembering Krishna, there's no calamity.
Maharaj, the next question is how to then practically, how do we consciously endeavor to remember Krishna when things are good? Health-wise, money-wise, anything else?
By thanking Krishna for all of his gifts that he's giving you. That's one way. I mentioned, decorate your house with pictures of Krishna and Krishna's pastimes. What's your children's names?
Rishabh and Aniruddha.
So Aniruddha was the son of Krishna. One of the sons. He was the son of Pradyumna, who was the son of Krishna, right? He was the grandson of Krishna. So the word Aniruddha refers to Krishna's grandson. And what's the other name?
Rishabh.
Rishabh, I mean, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he's mentioned in Bhagavatam. So we name the family members after the names of the Supreme Lord. The way to remember. Not that we think that they're Rishabh or Aniruddha, but
Thank you, Maharaj. I think, you made an important point. We've got to consciously, or I've got to consciously make an endeavor for thanking, because that is such a powerful activity as well when you contemplate things that Krishna has given and thanking consciously.
Another way is that when you're about to do something and you can, all of a sudden you get a thought in your mind, oh, this is not the way to do it, or I shouldn't do it at all. That thought is Krishna. He gives remembrance. Like yesterday, I had a kettle full of boiling water. And so I decided to pour it into a little vessel. But the steam coming out of the kettle was so hot that although the water didn't touch me, the steam did, it still created a burn. So, and I had to do it again today. So when I was about to do it again, and I remembered, I had to avoid the steam. So that remembrance is Krishna. Like if the criminal commits a crime and then he's forced to go to jail, does his time, he gets out again, he still has a tendency to commit a crime. If he remembers Krishna, Krishna will say, don't do it. Don't you remember how much you suffered last time? But if he doesn't remember Krishna, then he'll do it again.
Thank you, Maharaj. Namrata Mataji, you have your hands raised. You want to unmute and ask your question?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. My question is about gratefulness. So I know a couple where the husband is more inclined towards bhakti, but in their material life, they have the wife has helped the husband a lot in managing their grihastha life. So the person is so grateful to the wife, and the wife is not inclined to bhakti, that he is not able to take up bhakti because of his wife. The wife is pious, but not inclined to bhakti. So I am not able to understand how how grateful, what kind of gratefulness is this that is preventing someone to take up bhakti?
The wife is helping the husband, but the husband is feeling grateful, but the wife is not taking up.
Yes, the wife is not inclined towards bhakti so much.
Oh, I see. She's supporting his bhakti and he's grateful for that.
She's supporting?
And she's serving her husband by supporting by supporting his desire to become Krishna conscious. Yeah, so her service is to her husband. She has regard for her husband. But it doesn't mean that she has regard for Krishna. I'm saying, I want to serve my husband. He wants this. All right, so let me please him. Let me assist him. But she doesn't recognize the value of his desire. She just wants to support him. That's it. That happens a lot. One person will be engaged in bhakti, and the other person will support them, but not do it. It happens on both sides. Sometimes the husband, sometimes the wife. I know people who live their whole life like that. Or they have been living their whole life like that. You can lead a horse to water. You can't make him drink.
So Guru Maharaj, I feel that is gratefulness becoming a burden for the person here?
His gratefulness?
Yes, he is grateful to his wife, who has been very loyal. I mean, helping him every time in all the life circumstances. But just that she's not able to take the bhakti. The person, the husband, is so grateful that he is not taking up bhakti because of the wife. So I was just thinking, can gratefulness be so burdenful?
The husband is grateful to the wife, and because she's receiving his gratefulness, he thinks that's all there is. Well, you have to see at what level that advancement is. Has he tried to make her Krishna conscious and encourage her? If he has and he's failed, then you might say, well, she's had her opportunity, she's been exposed to it, and she's still being exposed to it by being in association with him. So you're saying that it's better for him to be ungrateful to her. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm thinking it's good to be grateful, but then I mean, how can be so much grateful that if it is restricting you to take Krishna consciousness, then how can you be so grateful?
I can't see how gratefulness would be restrictive.
Yes, that is what I'm trying to understand.
If gratefulness is actually an appreciation for something that is good, I'm receiving something good, and that appreciation is given to that same person, that person should also see, well, that's good. Why don't I take it up? I can't see how it would be a burden. You see, gratefulness is not a tangible thing. It's something that is established as a relationship. That's it. So if she's intelligent, she'll say, oh, well, he's grateful for me helping him become Krishna conscious. So let me become Krishna conscious. So his gratefulness is actually good for her. Not going to relegate her to inertia. She just decided not to go that route, so, for whatever reason. She can't understand Krishna. The basic principle is that person doesn't understand Krishna consciousness. You can't understand Krishna consciousness unless you actually have some experience with it.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much.
Hare
There are some nice comments, Supriya Mataji. I'm just going to quickly read it. I'm living only for Krishna, do things for Krishna, eat to maintain, body for Krishna, sleep to relax so I can serve better. Just like a lover constantly thinks about the beloved, or mother constantly thinks about a child. All people are Krishna's property, so I serve them as if I'm serving Krishna, because Krishna accepts service through different mediums. So everyone is Krishna in disguise. I serve all of them as if I'm serving Krishna actually.
That's nice. That's nice. There's that statement by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Let me see. I can find it. Really beautiful. I posted it on the conference a while back. Let me see if I can find it. Worth reading. Mm-hmm. I think we have it here somewhere. From the Bhagavad, it's from the Bhagavatam 12th canto. Can't remember the exact reference. I took it and put it someplace. Let's see. Oh, I think I can find it now. Okay. I think I remember where I put it. Which is really nice. It's in relationship to what she says. Let's see here. Mm-hmm. Can't seem to locate it now. Mm-hmm. Really a nice statement. It really illustrates the patterns, but was just spoken by Supriya. Mm-hmm.
And Mara, there's another statement as well from Narshingal Leela Mataji. It's easier, I've seen that it is easier to remember Krishna during nice cooperation with the devotees, nice service, etc. But during quarrel, it's almost impossible.
Yeah, you get absorbed in quarrel. quarrel means that there's anger is starting to come. And anger is a very strong emotion. As love is a very strong emotion, so is anger. Both of them are strong. So people forget everything else when they're absorbed in that particular emotion. It's like Kamsa was always fearful of Krishna. Couldn't stop thinking of Krishna. It's all he could think of Krishna. So that emotion of anger is also very strong. Yeah, so the idea is avoid quarrel. Says devotees don't quarrel. They may disagree, but they don't quarrel. Husband and wife sometimes quarrel, but that's not so serious. Shouldn't be, anyway.
Devotees, any further questions, comments?
I wish I could find that statement. It's so nice. I just was looking at it about a week ago. I have a tendency to index things and then I can't find where I put it. Anybody have that problem? Yeah, any more questions?
Maharaj, I have a last from my side, I have a question about the miseries. So when miseries come, to what extent should we go and endeavor to mitigate them? Because we know that miseries are as a result of our karma then comes. So there's a balance between tolerating them and mitigating them. How do we take that call, Maharaj?
Oh, I think you have to understand what is happening. And you should be, to mitigate miseries, everyone tries to do that. But then again, I mean, if someone is trying to do harm to you, you shouldn't allow that to happen. But now you have to protect yourself against that. So there's different levels of that. Some things are not so important, some things there is. I think that's a matter of discrimination. We have to think, is this worse or is it something that is not so important? Or one of the ways is just try to remember Krishna in these difficult situations.
Thank you, Maharaj.
That's one, I think it requires discrimination. Not everything should be. There's certain things that you can solve simply by avoiding it. Like one of the ways to avoid sometimes people criticize you. And you know the criticism is wrong. And you just ignore it. And after a while they get tired and they don't bother you anymore. Every time you go back and respond to their criticism, they come up with something else. And it just perpetuates itself. And one of the ways is just ignore. That's just a tactic. That's a tactic.
Yes, Maharaj. There's no further questions. Maharaj, can we conclude the call?
Yeah, I can't find that statement. It's so nice. too.
Okay.
I think, well, let me look in one other place. Oh, yeah, I think one other place, I think I might be able to find it. Let me see. It's just so nice to find this one. I think I found it. And now I have to get to it. Okay, yeah, I found it. Let's see here. Here it is. Meditation for developing real humility. From Srimad Bhagavatam 12:11-24. Can you hear me?
Yes, Maharaj.
Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur recommends that we become humble by practicing the following meditation. The earth, which is always visible to me, is the expansion of the lotus feet of my Lord, who is always to be meditated upon. All moving and non-moving living beings have taken shelter of the earth and are thus sheltered at the lotus feet of my Lord. For this reason, I should respect every living being and not envy anyone. In fact, all living entities constitute the custodial gem on my Lord's chest. Therefore, I should never envy or deride every living entity. By practicing this meditation, one can achieve success in life. From the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam 12:11-24. All living beings are situated on the earth, and he sees that the earth is an expansion of the lotus feet of the Lord. Therefore, all living beings are sheltered at the lotus feet of the Lord. Therefore, we should respect and not envy anyone. Nice. Nice meditation. Okay. You're on mute. Dinanath, you're on mute.
Yes, sorry, Maharaj. I was doing the prayers. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha samaveta bhakta vrinda ki jai. His Holiness Chandramauli Maharaj ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.